Okay, I think at this point we've got a short timeline to complete the presentation today. We're going to try to cover a lot of relevant subjects and allow 5 minutes for Q&A. Just a quick overview of something that I, who have been in IT security for way too long, thought I knew it all, and then actually was re-educated when I bumped into Zimperium about 2 months ago through a conversation with Ash. And that is, the mobile threat landscape is very much real and not a perceived notion that don't need to worry about it because iOS have got that sorted with the App Store. Completely wrong. Nearly 60% of threat to our perimeter today is occurring through our mobile devices. And that's been exaggerated by the change of 12 months ago, which is 12 months to go today, that we went into the first lockdown, and that meant working from home. And effectively, everybody, that means working from anywhere, because we do work from anywhere and we've been doing it for years. So with no further delay, I'd like to hand over to Ash, and we'll get this thing going. And please feel free to ask any questions through the chat, and we look forward to taking those at the end of the session. Ash.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Andy. Much appreciated. So as Andy just mentioned there, we're sort of 1 year anniversary of lockdown today. Well, at least in the UK. And I'd like to hope that after summer we can actually get these events done face to face and over a croissant coffee or a cognac. one would hope. Anyway, we're here today to discuss Office 365 and the threats that we see to O365 via mobile devices, be it iOS, Android, Chrome, via phones or tablets. There's no doubting whatsoever that O365 is a great solution. It's easy to access, it's easy to share across multiple devices, which is all wonderful. And it's been, a major connector sort of during this pandemic, as working from home or working from anywhere has become sort of the new norm in this new world. And I think without a doubt, a lot of this working from home or working from anywhere is here to stay with us now, without a doubt. We've all historically known about the risk of data on traditional endpoints, be it laptops or PCs that I'm talking through now with you. Hence, historically and today we've used solutions, be it antivirus technologies back in the day, EPP solutions, and more recently sort of EDR solutions for our laptops and PCs, and patching solutions as well. But as well as that, we've used firewalls and IPSs to protect our perimeters. And like Andy, I've been in this game for over a couple of decades now, and I thought and assumed all this was safe behind this perimeter, behind these laptops and PCs. But a lot has changed. And my eyes were definitely opened to the threat on mobile, and we're seeing the evolution of the threat on mobile growing day after day, and hackers quite simply are taking advantage of this new mobile platform that's in the palm of all our hands, and not only are we using it aggressively, but the hackers are attacking it aggressively on a sort of day-to-day basis. Yeah. So we'll focus on the discussion around that. But before I sort of delve into that, I just wanted to share with you a few logos of organizations that are using our technology in, I'd say, extensively and in anger. I mean, these are all organizations that are using it fully across their corporate and more often their BYOD estate as well. And one of the reasons I'm sharing these names with you is not really to say, hey, these companies are using our tech and what great brands they are, which naturally they are. But it's also more importantly, I'm sharing these names with you because these are organizations who have accepted the fact that the mobile is at risk. And it's at risk quite simply because it's another endpoint. Yep. And this is one of the key criteria I want you to take away from today, is that mobile is an endpoint like any other. And a question which a lot of these organizations have asked themselves and failed and answered it honestly is there a threat on mobile? And the answer is quite simply yes. Now, many of you will and many of your customers, for those that are in the channel, will probably say, well, actually, we're not seeing threats on mobile. And for most of you, that will be true. And the reason it's true that you're not seeing threats on mobile is quite simply they're not visible. The real reason they're not visible is because you're not looking for them. If you took away your EDR solutions from your desktop and your laptops today, guess what? You're not going to see attacks materialize on them because you're not looking. For every one of these customers across our enterprise and mid-market client base, every single one of them, 100% of them, have seen some sort of attack surface. Yeah, whether it's a threat, a compromise, but something has occurred on their mobile devices that they've been alerted to using our technology. And without that there, quite simply, they wouldn't have seen it. Yeah. So there's two statements I'd like you to sort of remember today. One is mobile is an endpoint. Secondly, unless you look within that endpoint for those attacks, you definitely won't see them. So those are the two sort of elements I would like you to remember for the day. So, as we said, the world is changing. Look, the world changed overnight as we were all locked down, as we were all, we're sort of forced to stop ourselves going to the office. But the threat didn't change. The only thing that really changed is the platform that the hackers were attacking. So the hackers historically were attacking the PCs and the laptops that were in the LAN that was protected by the firewall and the IPS. And that basically that platform that was being attacked has been changed to the mobile device that's currently in your hand today. Now, the fact that changed, yes, it happened aggressively over the last 12 months, but actually over the last 10 years since the advent of smart devices, let's say, that last 10 years has seen hyper growth really in the whole world of mobile computing, which is, without a doubt being catapulted with bring your own device and copy in the workplace, with this huge tailwind of working from anywhere, or the new acronym that's been used, WFA, which I thought was some sort of wrestling foundation, but hey, that's probably an entirely different thing. So these threats have really been brought to the forefront over the last 12 months. Companies, yes, have been involved in this place. They've been involved in improving the flexibility of the working environment. We've seen, as I said, that huge sort of shift to laptops and tablets and now onto mobile devices that are no longer behind those firewalls. And really, there's been an amalgamation of three things that have happened that have also helped capitalize on this. One is data costs hitting the floor. Over the last 5 years, we've seen data costs absolutely being reduced. Yeah. Secondly, the processing power of these devices has gone through the roof. Yeah. Okay. And thirdly, most corporate systems, most corporate applications have all been available in the cloud, but also many of them have been delivered now via mobile applications. Bring these three things together, and there's a fundamental shift and change in our behavior, be it with or without COVID. That just helped accelerate the process. Now, the next evolution of this very much sort of falls under the notion of 0 day, okay? And the whole 0 day working principle, where the device has also become a factor in saying who we are before we can access these environments. So as well as this remote working principle, it's all been wrapped around together with O365. That's one of element, whether you're using a copy device or a BYOD device. The other element, as I mentioned, is zero trust. You'll see it regularly. If you forget your I don't know, your password for your Google account or your Hotmail account, even from a personal perspective, when you get sent the one-time password, the OTP, it gets sent either via an SMS message. It gets does get sent via an SMS message to your mobile phone, which is basically become the first principal element in zero trust. Yeah. And then, as I mentioned previously, mobile applications are the way forward. And we see this regularly. I mean, like I personally have a folder on my mobile phone, which is full of work-based applications. And they consist of everything from Zoom and doing a call like this on there, together with Salesforce.com, Clary, Expensify, Concur, etc., etc. So all these applications are used on a daily basis, these mobile applications in the workplace. And further to that, compliance is now becoming a mandated issue on mobile phones, be it through GDPR, through NIST, and various other elements. Yeah. But I can't stress enough that the mobile has sort of slipped into the workplace, particularly for us that are hitting half a century and above in the age category, where we sort of saw these things appear with the Nokia Mars bar phones, from making phone calls to the communicator, from picking up emails, and now to the sort of more advanced devices that are running. Basically, anything and everything we can do off our laptops is now being run off our mobiles. Yeah. Now, 2/3 of your estate, probably, if you look down right now, is mobile. You'll probably have a laptop. Yeah. Without a doubt, will have a mobile phone of some description, and you'll more than likely have a tablet, which means 2/3 of your estate is mobile. The problem we have is that 2/3 of the estate now is a target for hackers. Yep. Okay. And with that, 80%, 87% of businesses are dependent on their employees' ability now to access applications from our mobile devices. Yeah. So it's this area of doing business on mobile is growing rapidly, an excessive rate. Yeah. And now with about, the estimation is, as we go back to work, about 30% of the entire workforce will work from home at least a couple of times a week. So this is really an area we need to look at and protect. Yeah. Like all security elements, and whether it be network security or endpoint security elements, yes, they're all at risk from hackers. As I said, I think, as I alluded to earlier, around about 30% of all malware is written for mobile now. Yeah. And bounties that are paid out by organizations like Zimperium, that you may have heard of, are excessive, to say the least, when zero-day exploits for Android are paying out about $2.5 million, while the equivalent on Windows is paying out $500K. So what does that tell you? A hacker is likely to be paid out 5 times the rate for breaking into a mobile device than they are from a Windows device. So that's where all the attention is going to go. That's where the risk is going to be based. So what we are going to be discussing today in detail is really 4 key elements, which is device, network, application, and phishing attacks. Now, on our corporate devices, we are receiving phishing links via SMS and WhatsApp that are not going through corporate gateways. We're going to be looking at that and the risk elements. We're downloading applications that we have that may or may not be business applications, that may or may not be secure applications. We need to understand the risk of those. We're jumping on and off Wi-Fi networks. We have no idea if that truly is a Starbucks Wi-Fi network or a BA network or your home network that you're jumping on and off. And all of these 3 elements are resulting in device level attacks. Now, what we would say quite simply, and not just ourselves, but Gartner, this is one of their slides, that protection is absolutely needed. Mobile threat defense protection is absolutely needed on these mobile devices. Now, if we look at the areas in blue, those are the areas that are already protected. On the left-hand side, we'll see the areas that are protected, traditional in traditional environments, be it laptops and PCs. And on the right-hand side, where you see the big orange box, that's the area that's currently today being unprotected, and the space that we fill as Zimperium with mobile threat defense. So it's really, if you want to think of it in a nutshell, we're talking here about EPP and EDR solutions for a mobile device. Now, with that, I will pass you on to Mikkel, who will discuss it all in a little bit more detail. Mikkel, the floor's yours.
Thanks, Ash. So what I really wanted to touch upon is kind of two key things that Ash already alluded to. First of all, Office 365 is a key mechanism to provide access to endpoint users on mobile devices. It'll provide them with the ability to basically do their day-to-day job, right? What we're seeing is that the level of risk associated with these devices is really not static, it's really flexible, right? So we need to be able to combine that access in the context of that risk, in that I do not want to provide access to a user on a device that's not safe, where the risk is unacceptable. Yeah. So when risk goes up, effectively access should go down and vice versa. And those two things should be linked, right? Because if we're not doing that, if we're being really risk averse and we're not providing access, where there is no actual risk, we're losing productivity, right? If you're not getting access to your email on a device that's perfectly safe, you're not being as productive. But if I do provide you access to, let's say, OneDrive on your device, where that device is fully compromised, the assets that you're pulling down from OneDrive might be exposed, right? So you're overexposing the enterprise in that point. So there is really a balance that we need to strike between the access provided, and particularly when it comes down to BYOD, in the context of the given risk. And once we start looking at what the model that Gartner provides, right? Mobile threat defense on the endpoint in combination with the access that Office 365 provides, what we're really doing is we're building a zero trust model. Could you flick to the next slide real quickly? Ash? Thank you. So what we're really doing is we're taking into account the level of trust that we give to a device based on our visibility into the endpoint, and then deciding what kind of access we're going to give to corporate resources, right? And the key thing here is that we need to enforce visibility first to the risk posture, to decide if we can trust that device, and then give access, and not the other way around. In the past, like I said, the mobile has slipped into the workplace, and with the view of iOS and Android in the past being it's all mobile, it's all fine, it's all safe, we're not exposing anything there, and by default we're just going to grant you access. With a zero trust model, we really need to move to a model where we do not provide access unless we have some visibility on the risk and some idea if we can trust the device or not. And I can't stress enough, when it comes to a BYOD scenario, this is highly important, because essentially the enterprise has no way to control what happens on that endpoint. So the user can be downloading apps from anywhere, doing whatever they want. You can't even enforce that they patch the device into a reasonable extent. So there is a significant level of potential exposure if you have no visibility into the risk of that device and make an educated decision if you can trust that. You flip to the next slide real quickly, Ash. So what we do is we provide the visibility into the risk posture of the endpoint and integrate with the Microsoft O365 platform to help establish the trust that is required to safely expose Office 365 resources to an end user. Yeah. Would you mind stop sharing, Ash? Because I quickly want to show how easy it is to set this up. So I'm going to go quickly, the scary part of my day, share my desktop. So on the right side, so bear with me, this is all going to be a live setup. I have my Zimperium console, and the first thing that we need to do if we want to build conditional access or zero trust setup with Office 365 is integrate both consoles. So setting that up is really child's play easy. We can simply go and add an integration. I have to hit 3 little buttons, and bear with me. to set up the integration. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm telling my Office 365 setup that I want to integrate mobile threat defense and giving our Z console the access to basically tell Intune, oh, I do apologize here, to tell Intune what, and I do apologize for the misclick, what risk levels are on the devices and where to apply the policies. So accept. And going through the third one now. I did hit the back button earlier. I do apologize for the misclick. Now, interestingly, Intune knows several models of deployment, right? We know MDM and MAM and the combination of both, or in some cases, we even see Office 365 MAM deployments combined with other MDM platforms as well. We can support all of those. So I'll just select MDM and MAM, I'll hit next, and then I'll choose the groups here to which I want to add my security. I'll hit finish, and that's all I need to do to set up the integration between our Z console and Intune MAM, okay? Now, the next thing I'll have to do is tell Intune MAM that I want to apply a security policy or protection policy to the MAM apps. So I'll go to Apps, App Protection Policies, and I'll create a new protection policy. We'll call it Outlook Protection because we're going to protect Outlook. We'll hit next. We'll select an application. In this case, we're going to go for Outlook. Hit next. We're going to go and leave the data protection settings as by default. This is for DLP. Leave the access requirements as we want it to be. Now, here is where it becomes interesting. From a security perspective, I want to do two things. I want to prevent the application from ever opening any sensitive data unless MTD is there, unless zips or endpoint app is running on the device. And I don't want it to open up if the threat level of the device is beyond a acceptable risk. So what I'll do here is I'll add a setting that says the maximum threat level is medium. So if the threat level becomes critical, exceeds the medium, we're going to go and block access to the application. We'll hit next, add the groups that we're interested in. Select, next, and create. This is all I have to do from an admin perspective to set up app protection for my MAM users. Now, my Outlook will be protected by a policy that prevents the user from ever entering into the app when zips is not on the device or when the threat level is exceeded. Now, given that we've got 5 minutes, I'm going to run you guys through a couple of recordings, what this looks like from the end user perspective. So here's a recording of a mobile device. And you can see Authenticator is on there. The user is logged in. The first thing we'll obviously do is we're going to go get Outlook because that's what we want to consume. I'm going to speed this up a little bit to not bother you with the download times. Now, once the app is downloaded, and here we go. Open the app, all right? And what we do, as we would normally do, is we're going to go and log in with our account, yeah? So you'll see that the app protection policy is applied, the app relaunches, and it tells us, hey, you need to get access to, you need to get zips on the device before you can access the Outlook application, right? So we'll go and quickly download that from the App Store, and then we're going to go speed this up a little bit. Launch it, and then we'll use the Microsoft login to use Authenticator to enroll and authenticate zips on the device. And then once we come back to Outlook again, we can actually go and see that we have access to the application. We'll quickly skip this through, go through the enrollment, we're all good and dandy. And now once we come back, you see that zips is on the device, perfect, it checks the status, and we can continue with our normal enrollment on Outlook. So what really just happened is the user tries to log in with their account. The app protection policy is applied. It is seen that Zips isn't there. The user downloads Zips. Zips runs on the device, authenticated, tells Outlook that everything is safe, right? Now, if we were to go ahead and remove Zips again, obviously, our access will be revoked. Now, in case of a threat, obviously, we also want to respond and make sure that we safeguard our Outlook and the data inside. Yeah. So in this particular recording, what we're going to do, you can see Zips is running on the device. Everything is fine. We have access to our email. We're going to go and change Wi-Fi and join a rogue access point. This is a Wi-Fi for which we are sure that there is some form of malicious intent. So once we go into the Wi-Fi and join the Union Station free Wi-Fi, we're going to see Zips detect this as a rogue access point. And we'll give it a minute, and there is a notification saying, hey, this is not safe. First, there's a captive portal, and then there's a notification that this is a rogue access point. Now, the rogue access point is a critical threat, right? Critical threats are classified more severe than the medium maximum allowed threat level on the device as per our app protection policy. So what happens next is that when we go into Outlook, it'll see that the device risk level exceeds the medium level and the access will be revoked, as in we're no longer trusting this device. Yeah, so you can actually see the app access is blocked. It doesn't meet your organization's required threat level. When the user remediates the threat, and in this case goes off that malicious Wi-Fi, the risk level comes down. We can then trust the device again, and we can grant access back into the app again, right? Fully dynamic, protecting the user, protecting the data inside the application, and potentially, preventing exposure of corporate assets. Yeah. Quickly go into the app, and you'll see that our access is back. Yeah. With that, I'd like to hand it back to Ash, and potentially, if there's any questions, I'd be happy to take them right now.
Thank you very much, Mikkel. We've actually had a couple of questions come in via the chat. So one of them in particular was, which I thought was quite interesting, was what happens if you're moving towards Intune and still have another MDM in place? In this particular case, it was VM Workspace ONE. Yeah, VMware.
Yeah, sure. Very good one. So generally, we support multiple MDMs in our console. When you have a device that is enrolled in one MDM and you have, our endpoint protection deployed through that MDM, the moment you migrate that device to another MDM, right, we can take that device record on our Z console, migrate it across. Experience will be seamless from a Zips perspective. Yeah, so there will probably be no interaction required from the user ever to maintain security on that device.
Excellent. Thank you. And one other question that came through was that you demonstrated that on MAM. Obviously, it was asking, does it work with MDM Intune? But the answer, I assume, is yes, from what you just said. Absolutely.
So Intune MDM is fully supported. We can have conditional access policies for apps deployed through Intune MDM provided as well. So we can support a similar model on Intune MDM as well. And even the combination of Intune MAM with other MDMs, for instance, if I deploy my Intune MAM apps through, let's say, a third-party MDM, a Workspace ONE or whatever, we can even work in that constellation where we help provide the app protection policy support, like I just demonstrated, in conjunction with threat remediations through another MDM on the same device.
Excellent. Okay, thank you very much. So in the interests of time now, I just wanted to take a moment to wrap up, but I'm going to still keep the the call open if we've got any more questions that need to be answered. Yeah, but hopefully you can all see that the technology from a principal effect of deployment and activation is very easy and straightforward, as Mikhail just presented there. And it's sort of giving that additional sort of strength to the security and ensuring that we become part of that conditional access solution. Andy, anything from your side you want to?
Yeah, I would like just to summarise a few things that I've learned, and only in the last couple of months, which have helped me take a different view on the threat that mobile devices actually present to us. And the first thing that I was taught when I started talking to the guys at Zimperium is, forget the fact these are called mobile computing devices. They're actually modern computing devices. Most people are using them to consume a majority of the services, whether it be on a personal or corporate level. I think we just need to accept that. Secondly, 1 year ago today, how many people went home and went, why do I need to keep charging 2 mobile devices? I'll use my iPhone 12 Pro because it's better. I won't use my corporate Max, whatever it might be, Android device, and it went in the drawer. So they started consuming all their corporate information via their personal device. And the next question that came to me is, how many people went through a Cyber Essentials or Cyber Essentials Plus situation and then realised that actually you're all out of scope, guys. That's no longer relevant because you've just moved your threat perimeter to home. And that's a really big thing. And I know a lot of you have been involved in Cyber Essentials and helping or getting auditors in. That's a big issue. And IASME recognise that. The other thing that came out of this recently, and again, some of you are very hardcore security will understand what the MITRE framework means. There is now an attack framework that looks all after mobiles. And I got that yesterday. And guys, look through it. I'll send it across to you. It's quite staggering where the threat vectors now sit in the mobile area. It's one area we need to really understand. And finally, we do a great job with Zimperium and Microsoft. That's important for the way that we consume Office 365, but we talked about Workspace ONE. They also do lots of good stuff with Citrix and IBM, all of which is documented, all of which can enable you to sell through your various channels. So the important thing with Zimperium is it's a mature product that nobody's ever heard of because it's all been an OEM play. That is changing right now, and it's a huge opportunity. There's 7.5 million corporate modern computing devices in play in the UK right now, most of which are not secure. So think about that. It's across the scale, from the smallest to the largest. And you go and aim at the top 100 companies in the UK, I can guarantee to you 80% of them won't have any form of threat protection on their modern computing device. So it's a huge opportunity. We've got fantastic support from the guys at Zimperium in the UK, from both pre and post, sales and marketing. We want to be successful with this product, and we believe you guys can be that success partnership with us. So I just want to say thank you to the team at Zimperium. We'll be running more of these. We've got mobile threat assessment incentivization going out there, £600 for every mobile threat assessment that's carried out for users with 2,500 users or more. It's a generous incentive and it's free to the user and motivates your sales channel people. So guys, thank you ever so much, Zimperium. Look forward to the future. We've only onboarded Zimperium and every day is a school day, to use that old phrase. It really is. So thank you to everybody, and thanks to everybody that's attended the webinar this morning. We'll be sending the recordings out, I believe, in about 24 hours. So please feel free to distribute those to your teams. Thank you.
It's wonderful. Thank you very much, Andy. Cheers.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.